Imagine a situation where civilians are mistakenly or deliberately targeted during an armed conflict. What legal protections exist to prevent such immense suffering and loss of life? Yes, absolutely. International law, specifically international humanitarian law, unequivocally forbids indiscriminate attacks. This is a foundational principle designed to protect civilians and civilian objects during armed conflict. The core reason for this prohibition lies in the fundamental principle of distinction, a cornerstone of international humanitarian law. This principle dictates that parties to an armed conflict must at all times distinguish between the civilian population and combatants, and between civilian objects and military objectives. Attacks must only be directed against military objectives. An attack becomes indiscriminate if it is not directed at a specific military objective, employs a method or means of combat which cannot be directed at a specific military objective, or employs a method or means of combat, the effects of which cannot be limited as required by international humanitarian law, and consequently strikes military objectives and civilians or civilian objects without distinction. This includes bombardment, which treats as a single military objective a number of clearly separated and distinct military objectives located in an area containing a concentration of civilians or civilian objects. For armed forces, this prohibition means that they must take all feasible precautions in attack to avoid, and in any event to minimize, incidental loss of civilian life, injury to civilians, and damage to civilian objects. This includes doing everything feasible to verify that targets are military objectives, choosing means and methods of attack that will limit civilian harm, and canceling or suspending an attack if it becomes apparent that the target is not a military objective or that the attack may be expected to cause excessive civilian harm. An important concept related to this is the principle of proportionality, which states that even if an attack targets a legitimate military objective, it must be canceled or suspended if the expected civilian harm would be excessive in relation to the concrete and direct military advantage anticipated. This works in conjunction with the principle of military necessity, ensuring that even necessary military actions adhere to humanitarian constraints. It is not enough to simply claim military necessity. Actions must also comply with all other applicable rules of international humanitarian law, including the prohibition on indiscriminate attacks and the principle of proportionality. Ultimately, the prohibition of indiscriminate attacks serves as a vital safeguard, upholding the humane treatment of those not directly participating in hostilities. It ensures that even in the chaos of war, there are clear legal boundaries to protect innocent lives and maintain a measure of humanity, providing a basis for accountability and minimizing the devastating impact of conflict on civilian populations.